On this cold, dark night, with the wind blowing, a little snow falling on the ground in a moonlit park, and here I find you, with a baseball bat in your hands and a dead person on the ground. I was here at about the same time, just 1 year ago, and now here I find you. Well, I do love enlightening people, so allow me to introduce myself. Well, I won't tell you my name, but you can call me Will for the time being. Anyway, so I see you found yourself in a bit of a pickle. After all, generally most people do not, if I'm guessing correctly, find the incredible urge to murder a person just because they looked funny. Or was it a newspaper? Do people still read those? I think they do. Did you see it on a newspaper? Perhaps a text on your phone saying they do not live. Perhaps you just heard it as a voice in your ear, and then you saw it. This man was clearly not a man. He was a flesh-eating monster. Rotting. You swear you saw his eye fall out of his skull literally before your eyes, and he didn't even blink at it. Not that he had eyelids to blink. Yeah, you won't be the first person to find yourself in this situation. No, you actually wouldn't. I know it's hard to believe, and don't worry, you're not going crazy. Probably not. I mean, I can't be certain of anything. I don't know you. Or do I? Don't ask questions you don't think answers, you kid. Anyway, but what you actually are is not a schizophrenic or insane, or at least not necessarily. No, what you are is what we like to call the imbued. Those messages you got? Yeah, they're from beings called the messengers. Yeah, I know, not the most original names here, but hey, what can these names were made up by people on the internet. You have to give them some credit. Yeah, turns out that isn't the only zombie out there. Oh, the shocked look in your face. I bet you're thinking, did the zombie apocalypse happen when I wasn't looking? Well, yeah, actually, kind of. There's tons of zombies, countless zombies, roaming and stalking the world as we speak. And they aren't even the worst of it. Vampires, werewolves, mummies, ghouls, mages, all of them are real, and all of them secretly exist, manipulating and exploiting humanity to their own ends. Yeah, try to choke on that for you. Because that's been going on longer than you've been alive, probably longer than I've been alive, and, quite frankly, a very long time. It's been going on since about recorded history, really. So, don't worry, you didn't miss the party. It's been going on for a long time, and you just got arrived to it late. So how's that feel? How's it feel to know that everything that you ever know was actually a lie? Well, not everything. Just a lot of things, really. It's kind of funny, actually, thinking about it all. Thinking about all the mistakes in the world. Thinking about them all, and just wondering, which I'm sure you'll ask yourself, is, how many of them were humanity's fault? How much of this could be blamed on human nature? How much of them was secretly the influence of dark creatures in the night, manipulating all of us behind the shadows? Well, I'll leave that revelation to stew in your mind as it is. But I must warn you, most people will not see that zombie as a zombie, but rather a random person you just killed. So, I'd recommend you, hopefully you remember to wear gloves today, or have some way to get rid of fingerprints, or you're gonna want to take that bat with you. So, people don't find you. People don't take very kindly to that kind of thing, as it turns. That's not gonna be fun. But I would consider readjusting your schedule. Just, because you might end up killing a lot more monsters, and you're going to want a good way to hide about that. Turns out, not everyone is in the know. Actually, most people aren't. Most people don't even know the monsters are real. They lie to themselves. They say, oh, monsters are just made-up creatures. Things to scare us at night, or people that didn't understand science. Yeah, well, they're wrong. Big shock. But if you want to survive, because this is going to give you a small warning here, you just entered a very dangerous game. A game where everybody didn't just bring knives, but guns and super speed. Yeah, have fun dealing with that revelation. But, of course, the first thing that I recommend you do is, first thing, get over the shock. I hear coffee's good for that. And the second thing is, figure out what your creed is. Now, granted, most of you imbued don't really know what a creed is. But there are actually a few of them, and they can all be broken down generally into either mercy, vision, or zeal. Oh, you don't know what a creed is? Yeah, well, we'll explain that some other time. But generally, they can be broken down to innocents, martyrs, redeemers for mercy. Vision has the visionaries, and zeal has avengers, defenders, and judges. Now, I'd very quickly figure out which one of those you have, because that's going to be very helpful to you when you know what powers you have. Oh, did I forget to mention you have powers? Yeah, fun stuff. Turns out you're not completely screwed, because you now have some tools to help you. First thing, you have this thing called second sight. Second sight is a fancy-dancy way of saying that you can see through monster illusions. It's a bit more complicated than that, but basically you can see the world for what it really is. You can see when that person's a zombie, or you can smell the taint of a werewolf, or even see where magic has been done. It's an incredibly powerful ability. Of course, it has drawbacks and limitations, and it can't always be on unless you're really in trouble. But generally speaking, it's one of your greatest tools. On top of that, it allows you to see through even more powerful illusions, such as obfuscate. With this ability, and using this burning some conviction, you have conviction now, have fun with that. You can also do crazy stuff like resist mind control or domination, or even resist fear. It's an incredibly powerful ability in its own right, and quite frankly, I'd argue, the most powerful ability in your arsenal. The ability to see the world for what it is. But don't worry, you have some more powers too. Based on your creed and how much of each type of virtue you have, based on the 3 major groups I mentioned earlier, you can do all kinds of things, such as hide away, blind monsters with searing light, or even turn off their powers and force them to fight like a mortal. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Of course, don't get any ideas. You are a squishy human still. You're not invincible, you can't take 1,000,000 bullets just because you say you can. You are still human above it all. Or are you? I mean, really, what's the difference? Are you really human? I'll leave that revelation for you. We can discuss at another time. But the last thing you need to know are those messengers. What are the messengers? Who knows? But I do, but I'm not telling. See, the thing about the messengers is that they give you, messages, on top of imbuing you with your power. Basically, every now and again, they'll contact you. How do they contact you? Oh, you think they just call you? Oh, no, that's far too simple. And if you just learned anything today, it's that nothing is simple. Nothing is simple. Get over it. They might, like I mentioned earlier, contact you like they did before, but more often it's like you're reading a newspaper and they tell you something cryptic, or the TV station switches out and in the static you get a message, or you just have an overwhelming urge, or a stop sign changes directions and it points to one individual. You don't know what's on that individual, but something's wrong with them. It's incredibly cryptic, and I also can tell you when it's going to happen to you. Some people, it barely happens at all. To others, it's basically constant. That is one of the trickiest parts, but its information is invaluable, as it can give you a leg up on your opponent. After all, you can't keep stuff like second sight active all the time. So, getting a warning that something is going to happen, pretty useful. So I would take that lesson to heart. Of course, hunters hunt best when in hunter groups, unsurprisingly, because you are still squishy humans, but the rule of humans, one of the key traits that kept you humans alive for so long is very simple: safety in numbers. And though the masses of humanity may not believe you, there are other imbued like you. Luckily, you have stuff like the Hunter Code, symbols that you can see always around cities or blocks or any area where a hunter designating certain items or locations or threats. And one of the most valuable tools you have for communication is the HunterNet. It's basically a site on the internet. It allows you to contact other hunters and, learn about things. However, there are many monsters in this world and they don't always behave correctly. So basically, one of the key rules you have to rule about HunterNet: don't always take everything that's said with a grain of salt. Oh, and never post any personal information. I mean, that's generally a good advice in general, but in this particular situation, it's apt because, every now and again a monster gets in there, and you don't want them knowing where you live, or an upstart hunter who doesn't like you for whatever reason. So, yeah, your life is now taken up to 11. Now, of course, you can hide away, think everything just happened to you was just a bad meth trip, and disregard what I say. I don't care. Although, when you get a HunterNet name, just don't take my name for it, okay? So yeah. Believe what I say, but I think you'll have a way. I think we'll meet again soon. And the monsters aren't going to wait. Humanity is ignorant, so I think the biggest question that I must ask you is quite simple. When will you hunt? See you next time. Yeah? Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscriber. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.